There is a day on the True Word television.
Today is Tuesday. Welcome to True Wellness Connections.
A day full of fun.
I can see like the ingredient, the recipe is coming up like we are ready to really be.
Inspiration.
Be ready to listen. As you are listening, you are not just listening to the story, but you are asking for wisdom.
Education.
Don't begin to assume that when you go to school, your accent, nobody's going to understand you. They are going to understand you.
Guidance.
If you can make up your mind to say, I'm not going to allow my situation to define me, you will find peace.
A day full of true wellness.
It's going to be amazing, awesome, wonderful, and powerful.
Join these amazing ladies to talk health, wealth, parenting, social, moral, and community values.
You need people that will bring out the best in you. You need people that will believe in that vision or dream.
Claudine Salumu.
In this life, if you do not have hope, you will never live, you will never survive.
Victoria Masio.
When I say you need to look deep down in your bank account, it was me. To be honest.
Elizabeth Brimo.
A lot of homes have been robbed of joy just because of sex.
And Pastor Blessing Ngozi Heka.
Don't focus on the computer. Don't focus on your own one. Your wife needs your attention.
Do you want to be well?
You don't want to miss it out. I'm telling you, it's going to be fabulous. It's going to be amazing, and it's going to be really lifting.
The problem will be solved and you have a fresh beginning. So you guys have fun.
Don't miss a single episode of the True Wellness Connections on the True Word Television Network every Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. Central Time.
Awesome work was done through the frailty of your son. El Shaddai, no night, the same. El Shaddai, whoa. No,
There is a day on the True Word television.
Today is Tuesday. Welcome to True Wellness Connections.
A day full of fun.
I can see like the ingredient, the recipe is coming up, like we are ready to really be.
Inspiration.
Be ready to listen. As you are listening, you are not just listening to the story, but you are asking for wisdom.
Education.
Don't begin to assume that when you go to school, your accent, nobody's going to understand you. They are going to understand you.
Guidance.
If you can make up your mind to say, I'm not going to allow my situation to define me, you will find peace.
A day full of true wellness.
It's going to be amazing, awesome, wonderful, and powerful.
Join these amazing ladies to talk health, wealth, parenting, social, moral, and community values.
You need people that will bring out the best in you. You need people that will believe in that vision or dream.
Claudine Salumu.
In this life, if you do not have hope, you will never live, you will never survive.
Victoria Masio.
When I say you need to look deep down in your bank account, it was me. To be honest.
Elizabeth Brimo.
A lot of homes have been robbed of joy just because of sex.
And Pastor Blessing Ngozi Heka.
Don't focus on the computer. Don't focus on your own one. Your wife needs your attention.
Do you want to be well?
You don't want to miss it out. I'm telling you, it's going to be fabulous. It's going to be amazing, and it's going to be really lifting.
The problem will be solved and you have a fresh beginning. So you guys have fun.
Don't miss a single episode of the True Wellness Connections on the True Word Television Network every Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. Central Time.
Hello everyone. Today is another beautiful Tuesday and it's a pleasure being here with you. This is the True Wellness Connection broadcasting from the True Word television station. My name is Elizabeth Brimo and I'm going to be your host today. However, I'm not alone. I have two wonderful guests with me and it has been wonderful. Mr. Patrick was here 3 weeks ago, and if you remember, he was loaded that day. We were highly blessed, and so today we have him with us once again. Mr. Patrick, can you say a little about yourself?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me back. And as you say, my name is Patrick Tshiovo, and I guess some people call me an addiction counselor, but I'm a counselor in general.
Okay.
And I work right now with the not-for-profit organization called REACT, Winnipeg REACT Incorporated. So REACT stands for Recovery Education for Addiction and Complex Trauma. So, and complex trauma is basically one of the biggest source of distress and dysfunction in many families and many people here that are having difficulties in life. So that's my area of specialty, and have been doing this for a number of years. Yeah, and helping families, helping individuals, and also work with professionals specifically that are struggling with addiction, relationship issues, or family, sometimes even parenting, and work with community members. So yeah, and on and on and on. So yeah, I'm glad to be here again. Thank you for re-inviting me, and I'm looking forward to all your questions.
Thank you. Mama Claudine, can you tell us something about yourself?
You have said it already. Okay. So my name is Claudine. Again, I'm happy and excited to be able to be here today to join actually Brother Patrick today. Last time I missed him, and I'm so excited to be actually closer so that myself I can be able to benefit from, hearing from him, because, as a community we just want to be always able to be open to learn. There's a lot of things that we can learn, but we just have to be consciously aware that learning is one of the best things we can ever have to ourselves. So let's all be connected and let's see what our brother Patrick have to tell us today.
Thank you so much. Today we are going to talk about self-awareness. And under this, there are lots of subtopics. So I will want dads to call their wives, mom, call your husband, and dad and moms, call your children, your teenager, everybody. This program today is for everybody, and also there are some things that will be directed to the adults. At that time, you may send your kids away, but at the beginning, it's we want to talk about something that will bless everybody. Also, we will appreciate it if you can love, like, share, comments. We want to hear from you as we are talking about all these issues. We want to hear your questions. And if you have any comments, we will be here. We'll be glad to read it. So, Mr. Patrick, let's start with setting boundaries. You know, normally boundaries to me personally is, this is what I will allow, this is what I will not take. Or ability to say no. Most of the time, most people doesn't have that ability to say no because they don't want to hurt another person. So can you just talk generally about what setting boundaries is?
Well, in simple terms, setting boundaries is you being able to teach people around you how they can treat you. Right? So
That's right.
by telling them what you can allow, as you say, and what you cannot allow. Right?
That's right.
And you can set those boundaries physically or emotionally. Right? And physically, for instance, so I know you, Sister Lizzie, we talk, but no way can I ever come and put my hand on your hair, right? So that's
right.
a breach of physical boundaries.
Yeah.
No
That's
way
right.
can I touch your behind. No way can I touch any part of your body that you do not specifically give me permission to.
That's right.
So
That's
that's where you tell people, stop. I
That's
cannot
right.
stand for this. So setting boundaries and being able to teach people that. Right? And emotionally as well, we do set boundaries. So if I walk in a room and you are upset, and now I have nothing to do with what you are upset for, but I allow myself to be upset as well and ruin my own day, I've breached that boundaries as well.
That's right.
So you kind of need to know how do we set boundaries so that, you know, people know what they can and cannot do with you or around you.
Okay.
So that's really important in terms of maintaining healthy relationship with yourself and people around you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Do you have anything to add?
I like what you said about boundaries. Like basically, we always hear out there people saying, "Oh, this person is accused of sexual abuse," you know, or sexual harassment, and the person will be like, "I never have any sex with this person. Why am I being accused of sexual harassment?" So it's exactly what he just explained about violating boundaries. So you are with this person with no permission. You think or you feel you can just stretch your hand and touch somebody's hair, somebody's behind. So those are the good example for, you know, boundaries, which most of the time, especially as immigrants, we do forget about that. We feel like, oh yeah, friendly things, you know. So setting boundaries is something so important that, you know, you keep your hand to yourself and don't just go and stretch your hand to think that it's okay to say what you can want to say. And also, as you say, like emotionally, like, you know, you have to keep boundaries. What do you allow to hurt your feelings, you know? Or no, can you just support somebody and just allow that person to go through what the person is going through, at the same time protecting yourself, not allow that things that you found on the streets to hurt you on. So I really like how you explained that.
Yes.
Most of us immigrants, we just go face troubles of sexual harassment.
That's right.
We'll be like, oh, I did not do anything. I didn't go to bed with this person. Why am I being accused? Just as simple as violating boundaries, you will be surprised how much trouble we can be involved in.
Absolutely, and especially in the workplace nowadays, right? So that's one of the biggest issue that they will tell you in the workplace is sexual harassment. And a lot of immigrants and a lot of people are falling into that issue, right? So you get a good job, 2-3 months, they let you go. You're like, I don't understand why they let me go. That woman lied. You know, she doesn't like black people. Right? So we turn into, you know, a race issue. But when we look at it, you know, based on what the society here requires, you know, what is that sexual harassment, for instance? You know, it does not take long to say, or it does not take much, I should say, to establish that sexual harassment. Do you know that if you see a woman walking by and you comment on her appearance, physical appearance, or oh, you have this part of your body is well endowed, that's sexual harassment.
Wow.
Right? Wow. So, you know, you might see it, but do you have to say it? Right? Did she ask you? Right? So those are the type of things that I see a lot of new immigrants getting themselves into the problem. Or sometimes it could also be just the idea of staring.
Wow.
Yeah, so if you spend too much time staring at someone's behind or their crotch or something like that, right? So that itself is becoming an harassment.
Wow.
Yeah, you might say, I never say anything, but where are your eyes?
Yes.
Right? So those are the type of things that we need to make people aware of. You know, like, let's set those boundaries around us. So as a person, you know, if you have strong boundaries around you, you are protecting your self-esteem.
That's right.
So it's important for us to set those boundaries so that we can protect our self-esteem. And it helps us set up an identity around us too, so people know what you stand for.
That's right.
Wow.
Thank you so much. With setting of boundaries, it's a job for me and you. It's everybody's job. If you don't set boundaries, you will not be able to tell others that, okay, this is your limit. This is where you can go. This is what you can say. So, talking about that, we have personal boundary, we have emotional boundary, we have physical boundary, and we have psychological boundary. All these boundaries, they are there for a purpose. They are there for a purpose. So I will want you, Mr. Patrick, to please just quickly touch on these boundaries. Like I said, we have the physical boundary, we have the psychological boundary, we have the emotional boundary, and we have the personal boundaries. So please, can you just give us examples so that people at home, our audience, they will be able to know the difference between all these boundaries?
All right, for sure. Yeah, so the physical boundaries, as I said earlier, so is your space. Okay, so you know, your space and your items, right? So you don't want anyone to go into your bedroom and start looking into your drawer where you keep your underwears, right? So it's like, well, why are you looking at there, right? Even if it is your own child, you're like, okay, I gotta set those boundaries, right? This is my home, right? I gotta set those boundaries. So, you know, it starts with this space. Or if I am talking to you, so in general, if I meet you on the road, the distance I want to keep between me and you is about one arm length, right? So there. So you want to be on that side, I want to be over here. Anytime we're getting closer, I'm violating your physical boundary.
That's right.
So if you want to practice this, you know, go home and find your husband and go right close to him. Honey, I have to tell you something. You know, he's going to back up and say, wait a minute. What's going on? And get really close again. Honey, I have to tell you something. He's going to back up. Why? Because he loves you, but you're violating his boundaries at that time, right? So that's why people stand back and say, wait a minute, what's going on here? It makes us feel uncomfortable.
That's right.
So that's why it's important, you know, not to do that. So emotional boundaries will be something like, you know, I want to separate my feelings from that of other people. Right?
That's right.
So, especially if you are in a relationship, so your husband is upset, your children are upset, and you come in and you're like, okay, why are they upset? Well, you get upset thinking that someone else did something for them, or they just upset that they failed a test. So you can get yourself in a situation where you're saying things and doing things that are inappropriate now, right? So if your friend comes in, I'm upset because your kid comes in, I'm upset because my friends are doing, you know, they don't want to talk to me. Well, why do they want to talk to you?
Yeah.
If you get upset as well, you might find out that, well, they don't want to talk to me because I beat them up. Well, yeah, honey, you cannot beat them up, right? But you can, if you don't set those boundaries, you might get upset. Well, then I'm going to go and talk to them.
I'm going to go to school. They're going to feel me.
They're going to feel me, right? You see where you start, you know, getting those boundaries mixed? So it's really important that we have those boundaries. And when we're setting those boundaries, we have to remember three things.
That's right.
They have to be realistic. They have to be doable. Can you do them? And they have to be moderate, right? So those are the three main things about boundaries. Are they realistic? So I'll give you an example. So if a husband has been cheating on his wife,
That's a good one.
right? Right? And then the wife realizes, they come to know that the husband has been cheating. They go to counseling, they get all the information, and the wife gets home and say, from now on, I don't want you to ever be beside any other woman. Is that realistic?
No.
Where in this world can you go where there's no women? Right?
Then you're in prison.
You're in prison, right? So you notice that she's putting boundaries, but they're not realistic.
Yeah.
Okay? So that's one thing. And then doable means if you set those boundaries, you have to follow through with them.
Yeah.
You know, if you say, okay, I don't want you to ever watch TV anymore, but then you're like, yeah, today you can watch, and tomorrow you're like, okay, don't watch TV tomorrow, then it's not doable because you're not following through with them, right? And moderate, when we say about moderate, is does the boundaries correspond to the offense? Okay, so sometimes you see parents that are putting boundaries with their kids. If the kids, let's say yesterday was Halloween, all the kids were outside getting candies, the kids comes and eat all the candies, and you go out to say, you're never going to eat candies for the rest of your life. So it's like, right? So it's like, okay, is this moderate?
That's right.
So those boundaries have to correspond to what it is that we're trying to address in order for them to make sense. If the boundaries do not correspond, then it's a joke. Nobody will respect that, right? So it's really important that we keep in mind that setting boundaries have to be realistic, you have to be able to do them, and you have to be able to they have to be moderate, corresponding to the concern at hand. Yes.
Thank you so much for that. You know, listing those points that any boundary that you want to set should be realistic. We need to be conscious of that. Don't set a boundary that you too, after setting it, you will discover that you cannot do this. So that is very good.
Yeah, I think I have a question over what you just said. So speaking of boundaries, you're just giving example about like in the couples. Sometimes you may say like, oh, you know, I don't want to see you around any woman. That's not really realistic, like a realistic boundary that you may set. So what will happen, for instance, if couples are there and they may be having issues, and so sometimes some of the people, they don't believe in counseling. Yourself, you are a counselor. So if any of you, whether it can be a man or a woman, and they say like, okay, for us to be able to move forward, let us go seek like counseling.
Yeah.
So is that a realistic demand, or is it because looking at it culturally where we are coming from? Okay, because sometimes in our culture it's just not easy to see like a man accepting counseling, right?
Yeah.
Because you know we have these cultural things of being submissive to the husband.
Yeah.
And you know, being obedient, but sometimes there can be issues in the marriage whereby you feel like you really wanna get it, you know, help in one way or another. So would be like asking for counseling be something realistic to ask, or would you encourage couples that are following us to seek professional counseling? Because sometimes community counseling, you may be like, oh, I don't want so to know my trouble.
Yes.
I don't want so to know my trouble.
Yeah.
So do you think community, like professional counseling, yourself being a counselor, that is something that would encourage our couples in the community to seek, should they have a need? Because it's really shocking when you stand up and you hear, oh, so are divorced, so are divorced. But divorce does not just come overnight. It's just a process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you help some of our couples following us that may be struggling with that question of how to resolve their marital issues, especially our own African immigrant people, with our culture?
Yeah, well, that's actually is a great question, you know, and there's a couple of things that comes to mind with that. Now, one way, seeking counseling is another way of setting those boundaries, right? So we know we live in a community, we have friends, and not saying, hey, you know what? I'm having my problem with my wife. I don't want Sister Lindsay to know.
Yes.
That's boundaries.
Yes.
Right. So say, I like Sister Lizzie, but
not in my marriage.
not in my married place, right? So that's a boundary,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So absolutely. And then you know, even African people or black people in general, people of culture, they have been seeking advices from other people for centuries, years and years and years. Yes, I'm a counselor now. We look at it from a Western perspective, but in our culture, we always had elders.
Yeah.
That's their job, right? So if you look at when a couple get married, they don't just walk up there by themselves.
No.
The man brings one person, the woman brings another person. Who are those people?
Elders.
They're
Right.
supposed to be those who are
Those
you can
are
run to
the
in time
people
of
you can
trouble.
run to in case of trouble,
Yes.
right? What's their job then? Those are your counselors, right? So, and we've been doing things like that for so long,
That's right.
So that's very important to know that seeking counseling is not something weird. We've always been doing that, right?
It's not a weakness.
It's it's not a weakness.
In fact, it's a strength.
Absolutely, absolutely. So if you don't know, it's okay to say, I don't know, can someone help me?
That's right.
Right? So, and when husband and wife are having a problem at home and they decide, okay, for the only way for us to move forward is to seek counseling, and that is a completely normal and respectable you know, situation to be in, and say, yes, I need some help here. I need some help. Yeah, they should be reaching out. And the key between the counselor, professional counselor, and people in the community, the biggest factor that plays in there is confidentiality,
That's right.
impartiality, right? And of course, you have to be, there has to be the progress, right? Objective, right? So
Yes,
what is
yes.
our objective here? Because people in the community can come up and say, oh yeah, I know, just tell her this, that's it, you know, like this is what I did with my wife. This is what so-and-so did with their wife. But it does not mean that it's going to work for you.
Just
That's
stay for
right.
the kids,
Yeah.
you know, for the sake of the kids.
Just stay there.
Yeah.
Just
You
stay
know?
for the sake of the kids, you know. Yeah, and all those advices, are they really helping resolve the situation, or are they just putting a band-aid on them, right? So that's really one thing people want to keep in mind, is we want to make sure that, you know, when they go seek a counselor advice, they're actually fixing what the issue they came with, and also setting path for moving forward.
For healing.
For healing, right? How do we move forward? How do we heal? How do we, you know, make this better and not have to come back here? So that's the difference between going to a professional,
and the community.
Yes.
Wow.
So, and again, forms of boundaries, they come in many, many different ways, right? So, we love our community, there's no doubt about it. But there are some issues where you may need a third person that's not connected,
to your
that
community,
can objectively help you guys resolve those challenges. Yes.
Wow. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You mentioned two important things that if our community can really follow through, is going to help lots of families. The issue of confidentiality and impartiality, because those things are making most homes to retract. They don't want to share because they will say, oh,
it's going to be all market.
That man is CTV, it's global news. We all know what that is. If you share something with him, the next morning all the community member will hear. So if we can find people that will say, if you tell me, hey, that is it. It's between you and I. So that, if we can get a group of people, elders that will really stand and say, okay, we are here to help families, we are here to help individuals, it will surely go a long way. It will surely go a long way.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think there is one thing that I think maybe we can be able to incorporate in our communities, just to help, like, you know, yes, we can go to seek professional counseling, but between ourselves, culturally, we know the boundaries, and even though there may be some barriers. Do you see, like here, like if I have to come to be babysitting your kids, for instance, they will ask me to go and apply for child abuse. So why? They want to make sure that I don't have no background of abusing kids or those kind of stuff. It's for the safety of the kids. If there is a way, maybe in the future, that we can have like a set of elders in the community that will be able really to sign it to confidentiality, say, these people, you know, like for us in our professional work, like for us nurses, like it's something that have even changed me. If somebody tells me something, that thing is lost. It will never come out, because you are trained enough to know that you are holding the life of somebody. Because when somebody open up to tell you his or her struggle, you know that you are actually blessed. So that you shouldn't take that for granted and start to go make a noise in the market. Say, hey, do you know, in the Claudine's house, you know, so this is happening. If there is a way we can have like elders in our community that will be able actually to sign the confidentiality paper, say from now on, I, Claudine, I sign that. If people comes with issues in the community, and they will never hear it anywhere, then you are held accountable and responsible, so that people, they can really feel free. Maybe it's something that maybe some of our leaders in the future, they can just come up with an idea like that. Because we really would love to resolve our own issues in our own community. They don't have no appointment, and sometimes they don't even have to pay money. Professional counselor, they are not cheap. No, they are not cheap at all.
No, it's not cheap at all. Absolutely, and that is a very great point that you brought up. And you know, last time I had mentioned that, you know, in our community, in our culture, the way we have been doing seeking counseling in our families, it has always been going through our elders or our pastors, right? And then our pastors have been those secret keepers. Right, so it's really important that they continue doing that, right? Because when the pastors breaches that that information,
Trust,
you know, that trust can never be restored. Here's something about trust. I'm going to show you an example, something very visual that tells you what trust is. So let's say let me get a piece of paper here that everybody can see. This piece of paper here is very straight.
Yeah.
Right? There is no wrinkle in it. So trust does this to this. Okay? So this is what when you breach trust, that's what it does to paper. When you apologize, you're doing this to it. You're reopening it.
Yeah.
Okay? You can reopen it. Go back.
That's
Go
not
back.
gonna be straight.
But is it ever gonna be straight? It's never gonna be straight. So that means you only have one chance.
Yes.
You know, even if you put this, you straighten up, you iron it up, it's never going to be straight. So that's why it's so important for us to maintain trust. Important to maintain trust. When someone comes up to you and saying, my sister, I have to tell you, my husband is doing this, my husband is doing that. They came to you.
That's right.
They did not buy a microphone and put it in a corner of the street and start telling everybody and say, my sister Lizzie, I'm telling you this. My sister Claudine, I'm telling you this. They came to you. There was only you and that person.
That's right.
So it's important that you keep that information the way it was given to you. Right? So because when you go and tell someone else, you've done this to that relationship. And next thing you see that person, you say hi to them, they don't look at you in the eye. You kind of wonder, I don't know what they
What did I do?
Yeah, they used to come to me. I helped them so much. Now they don't come to me. Well, it's because they find out that you did this. Right? Why should they trust you again?
Yeah.
And there's one thing also, you know, when somebody decided to come to tell you something, know that you are chosen among many.
That's
Why
right.
did this person
That's right.
come to you to tell you her or his life story?
Yeah.
Think about that. Just think about that twice.
Yeah.
And they understand that if you breach that trust that this person, you know, have put in you, so you will never recover it, as our brother said. So let us all really learn to keep it secret. It's very important because once break, as you say, trust, you can never recover it.
Yeah.
Someone can say, I forgive you, but to gain that trust back,
Yeah, exactly.
impossible,
Absolutely. And you know, and one thing you need when you go to a professional counselor, we are trained, we sign document, we have insurance, we have all this liability that tells us do not share. And breach of trust could be as simple as telling Claudine that, you know, Lizzie is my client. That's a breach of trust already. I cannot even mention who my client is. Right?
Wow.
So I cannot even tell you your name. So I can say I have nurses as clients, but I can never say, you know, Sister Claudine.
When I
No,
come,
right?
when I come to your office, I will be free to talk about anything because I know you will never say anything.
That's right. Even if someone is asking me, you know, is Claudine your client?
No.
Sorry, I can't answer that,
That's
right?
right.
So then you maintain that confidentiality. It's really important, right? The only time I may share anything shared with me in private is if there is a court order. Yeah, so then they have to go to a court and get that. The judge has to give a subpoena. Then they come back to me and say, can you tell us this and this? And even with that, I can still fight them and say, you know, I can tell you some, but not everything. So,
That's
you know,
right.
it's going to be very reduced, right? Or if there is the person is telling me in a privacy of our counseling that I'm thinking of going to kill that person.
Yeah,
right?
that's why
So
by law you have to
then by
report it.
law I have to report it, right? So
Okay.
then it's like, yeah, if you're telling me you're going to harm somebody or to harm yourself, by law I have to report it. But
Okay.
otherwise, everything we say, or you've been hurting someone, so I have to report it. Otherwise, what you share in in counseling is confidential.
Wow.
And that's a huge boundary that counselors
Yes.
have to respect. Yes.
Okay, I have a question for you. I hope we'll be able to move forward. There are some people, I'm talking about churches and pastors now, that have been disappointed because they share their innermost secret with the pastor. And the pastor took it upon himself to preach about them the following morning, the following Sunday. So it was like literally word for word, except that he didn't mention their name. Now, most people have been discouraged and they've stopped going to church just because they open up to the pastor or to the elder and
They made the sermon.
they use it as a sermon. So what can be done, or what can you say to those that have been discouraged through such a thing?
Well, they have a very good, valid reason to be. They feel like they're, they cannot trust the pastor. Right? They cannot trust the pastor. I mean, that's where communication is really important. So, the pastor could have had a situation say, you know what, this subject you're bringing up to me is something that I think not just you, but a lot of people are struggling with. Perhaps in the next sermon, I can include something in those lines. But you don't have to tell the whole story, because when you start telling the whole story the way it was told to you, other people can put one and one together.
That's right.
Yeah? So if I walk with the cane, if you start talking about, people walking with the cane, people are turned right away. They look at me and they're like, you never mentioned me, right? So people walking with the cane, they do this and this. People are like, okay, why is Pastor talking about the cane? And who walks with the cane here? Oh, there's Patrick. So this gotta be with them.
There
right?
must be Patrick.
They must be Patrick, right? So you see how they can, you don't have to mention anything and people would know. So that's very extremely important. So if you had maybe generalized it, say, there are some issues with mobility. Oh yeah, people are like, okay, well, it could be anything. So like, when you start going very specific in those lines, yes, then that's a breach of trust as well.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So pastors as well have to be very careful. Yes, they have to, preach, but how do you preach? How do you get that information out there? Especially if you've gotten in through confession from one of your parishioners, right? So this is what I'm struggling with. This is what I'm dealing with. How do you preach that? If you know this is a bigger issue within your community, is church maybe through service where you have to bring it up, or is there a way to maybe organize another meeting separate and say, people that are struggling with this, we're going to have a session with them, let them come themselves, right? So there are different ways that they can do it. But yes, definitely those people will feel hurt, they'll feel violated.
Yeah.
And even though the pastor does not mention them by name, to them, they will feel like every eye in the audience is on them.
Yes.
And that's why they stop coming. Yes.
Thank you so much. We are going to move a little bit forward. I just want to ask you, why are all these boundaries, why are they important? What is the spiritual aspect, or in short, why are they very important for us to have?
Okay. Well, there are several notation of boundaries in the Bible, right? So, and you see, like, and Jesus demonstrated that so many times where, I think, I forgot what the verse was, but when he say, a person who doesn't have any sin cast the first stone, right? So what does that mean to you? So
Yeah, it's like you don't judge.
you don't judge either, right?
Look at first yourself.
Yeah.
Are you better than
Yeah,
me?
exactly, right? So it tell you, so this is what I want you guys to treat other. Right? So that was a prime example of setting boundaries. See, how do you want to treat, because boundaries helps us teach other how to treat us. And that was his teaching to us. How do we teach each other? Okay? So that's why it's so important for us. How do we treat each other? Even when you've messed up, how do we treat each other? Because that's how we keep our sanity. That's how we live in peace in accordance to God's word. And then we build a community. Without boundaries, it's chaos. Right? So that's why even in a country, boundaries, when we move boundaries from personal to a national level, they call them laws. Right? So laws are boundaries. But, you know, in a personal relationship, we call them boundaries because we want to set that, you know, the term in a nice and polite way so that we can continue relating to each other. They're very important for us to function. They're very important for us to maintain the friendship, the connection with one another. But without that, we cannot trust anybody. Right? So we're not going to have trust among us. So that means we're not going to get together. So that community we're calling is not going to be community. It'll be a bunch of individuals standing together. But nobody can trust nobody.
Wow. Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Ability to trust again has a big role to play in setting boundaries as a community. The ability to trust one another, ability to trust people that, oh, if I tell Claudine this, she will be able to keep it for me. If I share something with Mr. Patrick, I believe he will be able to keep it for me. To our audience at home, we appreciate it if you can like, love, and share, please. Also, we want your comments. You can ask us any question about what we are talking about. So, Mr. Patrick, as human beings, we all have needs. And so, we want to move forward by talking about different needs that we have as human beings and how to deal with it.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. You know, and we have several needs, right? So some are spiritual, some are physical, some are emotional, right? So we all have that. So today, you know, I'll give you about 12 different needs, what they are and what happens when you indulge into them, right? So when you take it too far, right? So we are all born with the need for pleasure.
That's right.
Right, so we want to have things that are pleasurable.
Yes.
Right, so all of us, right? You know, how do we pass time? We want to pass time playing, parties, and stuff like that. That's a need for pleasure. Hobby, entertainments, those are the need for pleasure that each one of us have, right?
That's right.
Now, if we indulge into them, they become obsession. You know, like if you need to, you start obsessing, you know, like I want to play golf all the time, so I can only think about golf, video game, right? So then become obsession. So, you know, even though God gave us that need, but He also give us just to enjoy it enough. But don't obsess into it, because then it goes the wrong way, right? Now, you know, the second need we have, that's of food and water.
That's right. That is so important.
Yeah, to maintain life, right? So without food and food and water, we have no, you know, we're not able to stay alive, right? But when you indulge into it, you take too much of it, then you start having eating problems, overeating problems, or under-eating problems, right? So we kind of have to be very careful with our needs as well. Okay? So the third one is the need for sex. Okay?
Need for what? What?
Right? The need for sex for us to continue life on planet Earth, right? So the need for procreation. So it's important that we continue life on Earth. And again, if we overindulge into it, so then we get to the addiction, pornography, and all the sex addiction and stuff like that. So there's always a limit. Not if too much of something good isn't always good either, right? So too much of good stuff isn't always good. So those are the three physical needs, right, that we really have, and everything else, like the other 9 needs that I'm going to share with you are kind of the emotional ones. Okay. Now, number 4, right? We have a need for acceptance.
That's
right. Respect.
That's right. Yeah.
Right. Nurture, love, right, and comfort. And tenderness, right? So affection. I want to be loved. Affection.
Affectionate.
I want to be loved. Right?
Me too.
I want to be accepted. I want to be respected. We all have that needs, right? So it's important that we keep that in mind, because if you're in a relationship and you don't get that love, acceptance, you can find yourself like, I don't belong here. Let me leave this relationship. You wonder why so many marriage breaks? It's because this need is being fulfilled.
Tell us a little bit more about that.
Right?
About the need for love, and when it's lacking, what happened?
Well, when it's lacking, it becomes uncomfortable. It becomes uncomfortable because you walk into a home where you should belong there, but it feels like nobody can see you. You become invisible. Right? You become invisible. When you're not being respected, it's uncomfortable. Right? So when a wife comes in and cooks and put the food on the table, and the husband is like, that's all? What? Right?
What?
Right? So then it's like,
without any appreciation.
Right? Without any appreciation. Right?
Yeah.
Oh, honey, thank you very much. Oh, I'm going to eat it all. You better know that I'm going to be needing this every single day. Oh, yeah. If you tell me that way, I know you want more, but, you're just so acknowledging me that appreciating, right? So, absolutely. So, that need for acceptance and respect and nurture is important in a relationship for us to build that bond together, right? And if we don't have that bond, then why stay?
Let me just ask you one question, because I know you really want to share everything. In case of acceptance, and I'm going to direct this, I'm going to move it back to couples. If the husband discovered that his wife is no more accepting him again, at the beginning, the love will be so big and so wise, between the two of them. But as time goes on, if the husband discovers that the wife is no longer accepting him the way he used to do, what or how can you help the woman? A lot of things will have happened, or a lot of things may be causing her or making her not to accept him again. But what can be done to redeem that relationship?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good question. And again, then that's when we go back to finding what is the definition of love, right? So remember, we had talked about in love, we have these 3 big things that must happen, right? We have the intimacy, we have the passion, we have the commitment. So that's what brought them together, right? So that fire there, the three things happening together, that fire, you know, they loved each other, they couldn't spend time with their, you know, away from each other and stuff like that, right? Call each other and talk, say, no, you hang up first, you hang up first, you hang up first, bye honey, right? So they go on and on and on and on, right? So you wake up in the morning, the first thing is you feel this rush of energy, right? You say like, I'm looking forward to seeing her or him or whatever, right? And over time, that kind of dies, right? So why did that die? So we get so complacent. We're like, yeah, I'll see her again, or I'll see him again, you know, and it dies. So yeah, it could lead to a point where the wife is like, he's not, you know, he's not wowing me the same way he used to, right? So then I don't feel like that. So now relationship requires work.
Wow.
Really, just like at the beginning, you go your way, say, today I'm gonna do my hair this way to impress him. Today I'm gonna wear this to impress her.
Nail polish.
Nail polish. Even those small things, they count.
Yes.
They count. And throughout the marriage, you have to continue doing that. Maybe the wife felt that the husband, you know, like, yeah, I put food out there. It's not like, honey, this is beautiful. It's like, again, to start figuring out, say, why is my wife not reacting the same way she used to react?
Something's not
And
right.
what can I do to bring that fire back in our relationship? Okay? Or the wife can be like, what can I do to bring that fire back in our relationship? Let's have a talk. Honey, can we sit and talk? You know, how is everything going? You know, and sometimes, you know, and one thing that I find for people that have never had a chance to actually talk between husband and wife, it's if we're facing each other and talking, it could be very intimidating, because if your eye go even like this, right, you raise your eye, then
What do you mean?
what do you mean?
Why are you doing your
Right?
face like
Why are you doing your face like that? So whatever I was saying is no longer important. It becomes your face, right?
Yeah.
So now instead of that, so let's turn each other's back. So you and I would turn each other's back, and then let's have a conversation. I'm gonna speak, you're gonna listen, and then we go from there, right? So then you together, but you're having a conversation without saying that, right? So that's one way of breaking that tension and hoping that the conversation will go, right? Or we can say, I'm gonna speak, I'm holding the pen, I'm gonna speak. When I finish,
I'll give you the pen.
I'm giving you the pen, you're gonna speak,
That's a
and then
good
go
idea.
from there,
And
right?
you can only speak
I
if
like
you have the pen.
Yeah.
I love that.
Wow.
Yeah, absolutely. And by doing things like that, then you can start restoring that respect, right, in a relationship, right? So then the wife can feel like, I can tell my husband what's in my heart.
Yeah.
And the husband can feel like, I can tell my wife what's in my heart, right? And you also have to do an extra step on top of that and say, what we talk about here, we have to work on it, but not use it as a weapon now. to
Against
say,
each other.
Yes, yes. Yeah, absolutely. So it's really important that, you know, in a relationship, husband and wife continue talking to each other, right? Just like they did at the beginning of their relationship, where that fire was on, you know, just go back to it.
That's
you know,
right.
Go back to it. If you feel like that fire is going off, okay, bring it up again. You know?
Wow.
Yes.
Thank you so much for that. And I just want to ask you this question before we go further. As a couple, how can both of them together set a boundary that, okay, this is what we allow in this relationship? This is, I'm not talking about against each other, but together, that, okay, this is the type of friendship we should allow. This is the type of friendship we will not allow.
Absolutely. And that's a great thing for actually a couple to do, because you will have, of course, you have the friendship between husband and wife, which has to be solid, but you also have other people around you, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
if the wife is looking, it's like, you know, my husband always hangs out with Mr. Joe out there, and Mr. Joe, I don't quite trust him. I don't want that type of friendship for my husband because Mr. Joe does all bad things and he says the wrong things and stuff like that. So you can also have that conversation with your husband and say, I think you know, the way I look at it is, correct me if I'm wrong, but does Joe does this and this and this? Or am I reading too much into it? Or, honey, I'm not comfortable when you associate with Joe, right? Because here's my fear, right? You tell them what the issue is. So that way they can understand. It's like, oh, wait a minute, my wife, oh, that explains why when I come home and say, how was that Joe? You know, she's always like, yeah. Right? So because she knows something. So if the husband is conscious of that, he might say, so honey, tell me, what's wrong with Joe? Okay, do you see that? Maybe I don't see it. Now I'll start paying attention, or I'll slow down. Then I'm not gonna hang out with Joe so much. What kind of friendship do you want me to have? Or, you know, oh, I like Mr. Paul out there instead. So, oh yeah, okay, well, Paul, oh yeah, because he's always helping and teaching you something. My personal idea is, in terms of relationship with people out there, if you have friends and throughout that friendship you don't learn anything good or new, that's a dead friendship.
That's right.
Right? So if all you're learning is bad things, how to break relationships, how to tell people secrets and all that stuff in that relationship, that's a bad relationship. So I want all my relationship to be productive. That's where right. If we get together, we talk, yes, we're gonna have fun, but I have to learn something new out of that too. Yeah. Right? So I have to learn something helpful. So then that's a good relationship to keep. Right. So that's how I look at it from my perspective. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Brother Patrick, don't forget that we are coming from a different culture. And especially as women, you may have that remark and you're expressing yourself to your husband, and your husband, most husbands are always paranoid about being controlled by the wife. These words, you are being controlling, you are dictating me, you want to tell me, you want to choose who's going to be my friend, do I choose yours, do I do this? Do you understand? That is one of the things that can prevent maybe women from expressing themselves. At the end of the day, they take their own corner. And especially here, like most of women have heard about these things everywhere. It's like, oh, women of Babibi Abulaya, women of Western
Western world.
You know, the women of you know, whatever, Babibi Abulaya. So when you express yourself, you get a name that you are doing this because you are in this Western. But sometimes men, they don't take into consideration maybe the kind of woman they have. You know, some women are you know, self-spoken, they can express themselves, and other women, when they don't like it, they're like, oh, I don't want to talk because I don't want to lose this relationship. But that other women is like, it's not all about losing a relationship, it's all about having a happy marriage. So really culturally, how can we women really handle that? You know, should we just shut up and just be upset and just brush it off and because you don't want to be labeled, right? Because I love my husband. I don't want to be labeled. You know, and that's why most of women, they just decided to just put themselves in the corner, just be quiet because I have to submit. Submission.
Well, exactly. And then this need number 4 here of acceptance, respect, and stuff. One part it does is, you know, if women go the long way of saying, you know, I'm gonna do everything to please my husband, even if it does not meet my needs. So you hold your needs. So when you overindulge, just because you have this need is so important, right? So yes, there's definitely a way for a relationship to have that situation where the men want to be in control. But being in control does not mean that you cannot listen. right? So
I like that.
yeah, you can still be in control, but listen. So how do you go by doing that? So that's why, you know, you start small step. Husband and wife, set a day in the week or set a time in during the day or the week where
Dating.
yeah, you date each other, right? So you talk to each other open heart so that you can move forward from there, right?
That's right.
Yeah, and you know, people that struggle with this need as well, they become people pleasers. You know, even if I don't like what's going on, I'm just going to be the
I'm
funny
enjoying
one
it.
here
Yeah.
because I want people to
I'm a
like
good
me,
wife.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then in the meantime, they're
Inside.
burning.
Yes, you're burning. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And that ties to the next point of relationship, right? So we all have the need for relationship. We want to belong, right? As you were saying, you know, we want to belong. So be it a relationship with husband and wife or part of this family or part of this community, I want to belong in here, right?
Mr. Patrick, I know you are so loaded.
Will you come back next
Yeah.
Because we don't want to just rush to the next
Yes, that is the point.
Absolutely.
We don't want to rush.
Because myself, I'm learning a lot.
Yes.
Oh, that's this for me. And
It's
great.
better for us to really dive in and understand what each need is and how we can develop and help ourselves. So you will need to come back again.
Okay, my pleasure. Yeah.
We really appreciate you for this evening. Thank you so much. What do you have for us for the last word?
Yeah. Well, for the last word, you know, I really want to make sure that people understand that, you know, even though you may be in a very difficult relationship and you are feeling like you are depressed and abandoned, there's still a way for you to get out of it, right? So reach out for support, reach out for help.
Yes.
Know who to call, right? And seek for professional support. And a lot of us counselors, especially people of color, when we do counseling, we don't just use the Western world culture, we use our culture as well. You know, if I'm going to Claudine's to do counseling, I'm not just going to be doing counseling because I know Claudine's little world is a little Africa there. So when I'm doing culture counseling, I'm considering culture African.
That's right.
So if I go to someone from Kenya, I'm doing counseling. I know their house is a little Kenyan republic there, right? So my counseling has to be tied up with that. So culture oriented, so that they can get it in a way that speaks to them, right? And that's really important. That's why it's important to reach out, right? So if you ever had an experience with a counselor before, you're like, I went to counseling and it didn't work, it's because that element of culture was missing. And a lot of us now are very aware of it. Reach out, we can support you. And my practice is what we do. We go to people's house, you know, like work with them from their place of comfort and help them go from there. So one by one, I think we can make big progress. And we just have to be nice with each other, be patient, and God's help and support is always available to us, but sometimes we just have to turn toward it, right? So if you don't turn towards, that's where God has all his help and support, you're gonna feel like, okay, I'm walking in the dark.
That's right. Thank you so much, Sister Claudine. Last word.
Yeah, the first thing I just want to thank you, Brother Patrick, and I hope everyone that are following us have been blessed. The last things I want to say is that knowledge is power. Knowledge is power. Most of people, especially our fellow immigrants, are very ignorant about seeking to know, seeking to learn. It is very, very important that you take time, you take every opportunity that you get to learn about your own life, about your marriage, about how to raise your kids, about this society. Just take your time to learn. Like if through this True Wellness Connection, all we do, we try our very best to find people who are more knowledgeable to be able to share their knowledge with their
Yes.
community,
Yes.
so that in this land of Canada, we can all prosper together. We don't want our marriages to be broken just because we are ignorant. We just don't want to learn how to go about it. It's good to learn that, you know what, if I cannot trust my community members, but yet I see my marriage is breaking, I can go find like a counselor to trust, that I can trust and speak to. So let us all together as community know we are here for one another, we are here to build each other, and take a moment. It's all about your life. You need to stand up and rise and seek information that you need to build that marriage, to build those children, to build your future, to build your knowledge. It is going to benefit you. At the end of the day, we came in this land to be somebody, or to see our children becoming somebody. We did not come in this land to just lose opportunity just
That's right.
by being ignorant. So we thank you so much for following us today. Please, next week, this topic is going to continue.
Yes.
Make sure you join us. You know,
Yes.
I don't know about you who are following us. For me, I'm really, you know, loading myself with knowledge. I think this marriage of mine is going to be even stronger
That's
Yeah.
right. That's
after
right.
this
That's right.
this gathering today. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And lastly, from me, if you don't remember anything, remember this about setting boundaries. Whichever boundary you want to set, make it realistic. Make it realistic. Make it moderate and make it doable. Everything we are doing, like both of them have said, is to help each other. We are helping ourselves, we are helping you in all ways we can. So please try to take all these things into consideration. Don't just listen, but make sure you do the practical aspects. And I believe it's going to help us all at the end. Thank you for joining us this evening. Make sure you enjoy the beautiful weather before winter comes. And have a lovely evening. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
There is a day on the True Word television.
Today is Tuesday. Welcome to True Wellness Connections.
A day full of fun.
I can see like the ingredient, the recipe is coming up, like we are ready to really be.
Inspiration.
Be ready to listen. As you are listening, you are not just listening to the story, but you are asking for wisdom.
Education.
Don't begin to assume that when you go to school, your accent, nobody's going to understand you. They are going to understand you.
Guidance.
If you can make up your mind to say, I'm not going to allow my situation to define me, you will find peace.
A day full of true wellness.
It's going to be amazing, awesome, wonderful, and powerful.
Join these amazing ladies to talk health, wealth, parenting, social, moral, and community values.
You need people that will bring out the best in you. You need people that will believe in that vision or dream.
Claudine Salumu.
In this life, if you do not have hope, you will never live, you will never survive.
Victoria Masio.
When I say you need to look deep down in your bank account, it was me. To be honest.
Elizabeth Brimo.
A lot of homes have been robbed of joy just because of sex.
And Pastor Blessing Ngozi Heka.
Don't focus on the computer. Don't focus on your own one. Your wife needs your attention.
Do you want to be well?
You don't want to miss it out. I'm telling you, it's going to be fabulous. It's going to be amazing, and it's going to be really lifting.
The problem will be solved and you'll have a fresh beginning. So you guys have fun.
Don't miss a single episode of the True Wellness Connections on the True Word Television Network every Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. Central Time. You are watching the True Word Television, spreading the true word of salvation.
Are you excited to be in the house? Let me hear you scream! Ching, ching, ching. It's the lover of your soul. It's the lover of my soul. Are you in are singing, singing, singing. Angels are singing, singing, singing. Yeah. Are you ready? Let's go. Wake up to the morning light. I feel your love. Every time you deja me joy. You're the reason I'm writing this song. Let me hear you sing. I'm in love with you, my Lord. Let me hear you sing. See me. Don't you want the reason I'm singing? All of my worship I'm bringing. 'Cause it belongs to you. Always on my mind. You've been always on my mind. You've been always on my mind. You've been always on my mind. Angels are singing, singing, singing. Angels are singing, 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 singing. Let me hear you say, oh yeah. Come and scream. I wanna be close to you. Yeah, let's take it over to Jamaica. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, man, yeah, man. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. I wanna be, are you ready? Let's go, sing. Steady by the wayside, all alone. I knew that I was wasted, almost gone. Then I cried, Savior, don't pass me by. And I realized all along, you were always here. Mama Diriki, Ekele Diriki. Say, I wanna be close to you. About me, I don't. I wanna be. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Let's go, sing. I so far I see.
You are watching the True Word Television, spreading the true word of salvation.
For the Lord God Almighty reigns.
Hello, my name is Pastor Joy. I invite you to tune in on a regular basis to the True Word Television and be blessed by God's servants from all over the world. Welcome. We look forward to seeing you soon.
You are watching the True Word Television, spreading the true word of salvation.